Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe, and I wanted to talk about one of my favorite actors, Corey Haim. As a kid, I grew up with Corey Haim movies, The Lost Boys, License to Drive, Fast Getaway, even the cheesy ones like, well, Prayer of the Roller Boys wasn't cheesy, that's more of a hidden gem of his, but I know people love that word, that saying. Cheesy ones like National Lampoon's Last Resort, even movies like Busted that really weren't good. So I always liked Corey Haim, Corey Feldman as well. I liked their camaraderie when I was a kid growing up. Thought they were really cool, kind of funny and goofy, and always just had a good sense of humor with their movies. So and a good, a good relationship where they worked off of one another. So I wanted to talk about some of Corey Haim's final films. Some he was in and some he wasn't in. So to start this off, Lost Boys: The Thirst. Spoiler alert. This is the third movie in the Lost Boys series. The first one's amazing. Second one, The Tribe, feels sort of like a remake, and Corey has a pretty cool bit part in that one. He was supposed to be in this one. I'm not sure why he wasn't. Some people say things like he had problems, he couldn't come to terms with the directors, whatever the case may be. Whether it was drugs, I don't know at this point. He wasn't in the third film. He has a headstone in the third film for his character, who I would assume dies in the second film without spoiling too much for you. And that's it. So it's kind of a morbid thing to see, kind of macabre, because he's dead, and when you watch it, you could tell he probably should have had some kind of part in this film, didn't, and then his gravestone is in it. So kind of weird. But he wasn't in this one, but I figured this was an honorable mention to start off with. So I'm going to try and go in chronological order here in terms of release. First, we have Trade-In, and Trade-In is like a B movie about this guy who owns a car dealership and he's having hard times. Ron Jeremy has a part in it. I don't like Ron Jeremy. I think he's really fucking skeevy, but the guy in the movie does have some kind of weird daydream where he like falls asleep on his desk or something, and he dreams about Corey Haim visiting him, and he has this like epiphany and talks to Corey Haim. So it was okay. The movie was pretty good, better than I expected, but does have a quick cameo from Corey Haim. They put his name up front like he's one of the main actors. You can see it with the glare, but he really wasn't. So that was one of the ones that, it was pretty good. It was kind of better than I expected, but nothing amazing. Let's see here. He also was in, and I didn't pull this out of my shelf, he was in Crank High Voltage, which was the sequel to Crank. Great movies. Really over-the-top action flicks. I don't really want to talk about that one too much because most people know the Crank films. Then I want to talk about Shark City. Shark City is a pretty cool flick about like this gambling debt and this guy who like plays cards and ends up beating people and like kind of scamming them out of money. There's a bigger story to it. I saw it a couple of years back when I got it. Corey Haim plays an okay part in it, and it was better than I expected as well. So kind of like something you'd see on late at night on Showtime or something. And overall, it was pretty good. I would recommend Shark City. As I said, these are movies that he didn't play bigger parts in, but he was in, so I did want to mention. Then we're going to kick it off with The Hostage Game, a.k.a. American Sunset. And this was a good one because Corey Haim was the main actor in the movie. And he's with this guy here, Frank Molina, and his wife gets, his wife gets kidnapped, and he hires Frank Molina, who's like a private eye, to go with him and figure out what happened to her. I thought the movie was good. I thought they had some really good friendship in the movie. They kind of like start off on the wrong foot, then they end up becoming kind of buddies and trusting each other. But the end of the film and why she got taken, I was not a fan of. So like by the end, I was like, oh, it built up and then let down to like something that just wasn't as big as I thought it should have been. It wasn't as interesting. But check out American Sunset, a.k.a. The Hostage Game. They've now changed the name of the movie. I think I ordered this on DVD a long time ago before they really started releasing it, I guess. So I don't know why I have this version, but I do. And then let's see here what else we have in order. The next one is going to be New Terminal Hotel, a.k.a. Do Not Disturb. Another one with a different name. Um, this one stars Stephen Jeffries. If I'm pronouncing his name right. He was in Fright Night. He eventually became a gay porn star, which was kind of weird, strange to see him. He looks kind of like a creepy dude, to be completely honest. So I guess he played a good murderer in this movie. He's like a serial killer who lives in this like seedy hotel. Corey Haim has a pretty small part. He's one of like the bar patrons in the hotel. I don't want to spoil what and what doesn't happen to him, but it was an okay movie. It was actually longer on the New Terminal Hotel cut. Then it got purchased and cut 15 minutes, and they released Do Not Disturb. They said it makes the movie kind of move along better, and I didn't like this movie when I first saw it. I was like, oh. But then when I rewatched this version, I did like it to a degree, at least better. So, these are all movies that aren't great, but I would say, like, if you're a fan of Corey Haim, you want to check some of his final stuff out, then you could do worse, I would say one of his worst is probably Busted. So this one wasn't in that vein. It was pretty good. It kept you kind of interested. And finally, the final Corey Haim film that, they were like, oh, Corey Haim's final movie all over the internet and shit to try and sell it was Decisions. And he plays a pretty big part in this. He looks a little worse for wear in this one, a little overweight, whether because he's on medication or something, I'm not really sure. But from what I remember, because it's been a little while, I did watch this film twice. Corey Haim stars as a detective, and there's all these different characters. There's like his girlfriend who's also doing like shady stuff. There's this black guy that's involved somehow. There's this other dude, and like each of them represents a kid that got spoken to by this, like, I guess it's like a mentor that's like, I want to say it was like a mentor, like drug dealer in town or something, trying to tell them to stay out of like the rough life and the bad life. And then it sort of like goes into them growing up and showing like what they became. I don't want to spoil too much about that because they do go back and rewind to that at the end of the film. But the movie was okay. It it was good seeing Corey Haim like front and center in something. Like I said, he didn't look so great in the film. I thought he looked a little washed out and tired. But the movie is definitely a B movie, which all of these kind of are, except probably even the Lost Boys 3. So in this film, the acting isn't so great with some of the people, and also the shots are very weird. Like, I remember specifically, I was kind of like shaking my head. There's this shot where like there's all these people dancing on a lawn, and there's music playing in front of this house, and there's like couches outside, and like they're having this party, and it was just so awkward and weird. Like, I've never encountered something like that. I mean, I don't live in California. I think this is in LA. So like, I don't know how many people are sitting outside on their lawn on a couch, like having parties, but it was just kind of weird. Some of the direction they went with the film. Overall, I think the idea was good, but the way it was shot and some of the actors could have been better. And just to cap this off, one of the Corey Haim films that he was right about to be in and then he passed away was called The Dead Sea. That was supposed to come out, I forget when. It eventually came out in 2014. It's like an action horror movie with this Navy vessel that goes missing and something to do with zombies or ghosts. I usually like movies like that, kind of like the movie Below, where there's like ghosts on a boat or ghosts on a submarine. So I was looking forward to this one. Sadly, as I said, he passed away before the film came out. And yeah, those are the final movies Corey Haim's been in or hasn't been in those instances. One movie that I would like to talk about briefly that has nothing to do with nothing, and I know this is kind of a niche topic, but it's sort of a niche channel, so there you go. Besides my GameStop videos, I guess. Corey Haim did this movie back when I was a teenager called Universal Groove, and it never got released, but the director got upset that I guess the money got taken away for the release or something happened, and he eventually released it on, on YouTube in parts. Or he released it online and somebody put it up in parts. It's now since been taken down. Luckily, I was able to download this film. This film originally came out, I think, 2007, if I recall correctly. Let me look it up real quick. 2007. I was able to download it in parts. So that's the way I've watched it, where I burnt it to a disc and just kind of watched each segment as it flipped over to the next AVI file or whatever. Not the best way, but hey, at least I got to see it. This was kind of one of those, and the reason I'm mentioning this is one of those movies you never really heard about after it like got canned. Anyone who was a fan of Corey Haim was really looking forward to this movie. It was supposed to be like his comeback, and then it ended up kind of getting shelved or kind of coming out in like limited release. There's no DVD available. There's no VHS tape. There's nothing. Now that I've seen the film, and a couple times, like 2 or 3 times, I would say that it, and the only reason I'm mentioning this is because, like I said, it's kind of a clandestine topic, so I thought it would go well with his final films. It was pretty good. It sort of captures the moments of these different people in the club scene, doing drugs and drinking and meeting women and stuff like that. Kind of the bizarre trips they go through with the drugs. It's sort of one of those movies you could throw on and sort of pull something from, but I myself have never really done drugs or gotten into that kind of atmosphere, so I couldn't appreciate that portion of it, but it was cool to see him in like a pretty major part in that movie, and see these like different aspects of these people's lives. And the term universal groove, at least from what I recall, was that when everyone's together in a club, dancing, doing drugs, doing whatever, they're all in this universal groove, and even though they may not physically be next to each other, they're all moving in unison. So, cool film, a little bit on the quirky side, kind of weird, but I did want to mention that one because it was sort of like a weird one that was everyone was looking forward to, didn't come out. No one knew what the hell happened. It sort of popped up online for a little while, then got taken down, and now it's still never spoken of again. So if you can somehow find Universal Groove, I would recommend that too. If I could ever help you to get it, let me know. I guess I'm not sure how I would get that to you, but yeah. So these are the Corey Haim movies I wanted to talk about that were his final films, ending off with Decisions, and kind of sad, I mean, when he passed away, I remember I was at work that morning. My mom, I think, called me and was like, I got something to tell you. And I think she knew, like, I was going to be a little bummed out. I'm not one of those people that, like, cries over celebrity deaths or anything. I didn't know these people as much as they had an impact on my life or me growing up. And I felt like, as a kid, they may have been friends to me. I feel like I was one of those guys or kids at the time that grew up with a lot of TV, a lot of movies, still do, in terms of the movies, to where you feel like you know these people, they almost become a buddy. And, when you get older and then they pass away, especially with circumstances like his, where he was young, he probably, I forget what he died from. It wasn't drugs, but, I'm sure the drugs over the years weakened his body. You feel bad, you think, what could have been? Would they have made comebacks? I remember one night I had watched Corey Haim movies, and then I went to bed and I had this weird dream about him starring in this new cop show that was on TV. I can't think of the name right now. That all these young up-and-comers, and it wasn't NYPD Blue, but it was like a cop, like some teeny bopper cop show. And I thought to myself in the dream, wow, Corey Haim's going to be in this new TV show. And he wasn't. But, I always kind of just felt bad about his death. It's kind of a useless death, if you will, especially at such a young age. I really hoped he would get back into the spotlight in some semblance of his old self. But check out these movies if you're a Corey Haim fan. If you want me to talk about Corey Haim and Corey Feldman some more, I have more movies to talk about. Some were never released on DVD, such as Universal Groove, Fast Getaway 1 and 2, things like that. But I just like chatting. So thanks, guys, for watching. It's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. Be good.